Hi and welcome to the course on ethical hacking. We are learning different techniques, tools, and countermeasures in order to protect our own network. This is an academic course, so whatever we are teaching in this course is purely for academic purposes. Today, I'm going to talk about passive reconnaissance. So in this chapter, we'll be covering various different things, but the key concepts of this chapter is the passive reconnaissance process. How does it take place? Then we'll see different techniques that attackers use to discover the information. Then we'll see how Google helps in passive reconnaissance, how the attackers can gain some basic information about their potential targets using the search engines, because the information which is globally accessible through the search engines, we can find quite a wealth of information by searching the things on the search engines. Then the use of social networks for information gathering, how social networks plays an important role in gathering certain information. And finally, we'll be talking about some basic countermeasures in order to protect ourselves against any sort of passive reconnaissance attacks. Now, to explain the passive reconnaissance, the process is a technique designed to obtain information about a target as stealthy as possible. So, this is a process where the attacker would try to gain information about your network without actually harming the network. So they'll be scanning the network only to find the operating systems, the kind of systems you're using, and all those things related to the organization. Skilled attackers may sometimes gain valuable information about their intended target without altering the victims to an impending attack. So they are not actually carrying an attack, they are just gathering the information about the potential target. One of the main tactics in passive reconnaissance is collecting actionable information from third-party sources such as search engines, social media, etc. So if an organization is posting certain things about their organization, or if they are posting some job openings in the institution, so these attackers will get that information, and then they'll try to find out that what kind of technologies are actually used in that potential target, which they can attack later. Now, attackers manage to collect the information related to network topology, the equipment that they are using, the kind of servers, the kind of databases, kind of ERPs, financial systems, any third-party applications, physical location of the company or the organization, or the physical assets, and the names of the personnels and their titles who are working in any organization. Now we'll see the information gathering process, that what's the actual process, how they are successful in collecting the information. First of all, commonly known as footprinting phase of the hacking and information gathering. So when they are collecting any sort of information about their potential target, we call them as footprinting phase as well. Now, common steps in footprinting or information gathering processes: gathering information from general sources such as Google and the organization website. Now they can use Google, or they can find it on the organization website, the email addresses, contact details, then the kind of technologies or the services rendered by that organization, what is the hierarchical structure, and all those different things. Determine the network's logical and physical dimensions. How big is the institution or the organization? How many branches do they have? What sort of communication technologies they are using? Identifying active computers and devices, like what are the active systems or devices or technologies used in those organizations. Finding open ports and active services and access points. What are the ports which are opened on the computers? What are the services rendered, and what are different access points, etc. They can even detect the operating systems which are being used, and they can even find out about the known vulnerabilities of the softwares that they are using currently in their organization. Now further, in the footprinting activities, they can even examine the company website and other online presence such as social media. If they have any social media page and information which is posted over there, they can get updated information about the events taking place, information related to the upcoming holidays and all those things. So if they are looking for a window when there will be no one available in the office, which would be a potential time or the best time to launch any kind of attacks, all that sort of information can be obtained from social media. Identify the key employees who are the decision makers, what's the hierarchy, who's the managing director, who are the guys who are related to IT and the systems, etc. Analyze open positions and job requests if they are posting anything related to that on LinkedIn or any other websites. Access affiliate, parent or sibling companies, any companies which is dealing with this company and the kind of services they are providing to them. Find the technologies and softwares used by the organization. If they are using any specific kind of ERP or accounting system or payroll or HR system, that information can be collected. Determine network address and range, that how big is the network, what kind of topologies they are using. Review network range and determine whether the organization is the owner and operator, or if the systems are hosted by someone else, if they are running any Microsoft Exchange server for email, or if they are using any shared resources on their network, whether they are hosting the services within their infrastructure or they are hosting it with an external host, all that information can be gathered. Then they can look for employee postings, blogs, and other leaked information, that if any of the employees in that organization is quite active on social media and they are constantly posting information about themselves and how they are doing in the workplace, different activities which are taking place in offices and all those different things, and then all the information can be collected by the review. Once collected, they'll review the collected data to come up with any sort of conclusion with that. Now once this process is complete and they have collected all that information under the right condition, a skilled hacker can gather the information mentioned here and use the results to fine-tune what they scanned or probed in the victim's information technology environment. In this phase also, the most effective tools employed by the hacker or the attacker could be common sense and the detective work. The attacker must be able to look for the places where the company may have made information available and seek out such information. In fact, the footprinting may be the easiest part of the hacking process, because most organizations generate massive amount of information that is made available online through their social media accounts, from their websites and other places where they are posting their information. Before a skilled hacker fires an active tool such as port scanner or password cracker, the person will meticulously carry out the footprinting process to plan and coordinate a more effective attack which is possible and which could harm the organization in any means. Now the information available on the company website is available through the social media as well. In spite of increasing awareness of online security, many organizations willingly publish the sensitive information online. Sometimes they realize it, sometimes they don't realize it, but that sort of information is very important for the attackers to gather the basic information about any organization. That kind of information may include the employee name and email addresses. If that information is available on the website, they can even receive some bogus calls, and people would be claiming that they are calling from Microsoft or Oracle or any big names. They can even send them emails related to any kind of phishing attacks, etc. Branch office locations, how many branches are there, how much staff is available over there, technologies and the organizations is using, any kind of databases or information related to the operating systems, etc. Now, without realizing it, company will publish information that seems insignificant but may prove valuable to the attacker. Now, just to give you an example that what kind of information could be available through the website, Attackers use different site ripping tools such as Black Widow or wget or HTTP trace. There are a number of different tools available on the internet with the help of which they can get the information. Now here you can see that the attacker can find the information that is not visible on the website. If a website is loading, you don't know what code is written at the back end for the HTML page. So if you can see through the HTML code seems harmless, it tells the attacker the name of the server that is being used in this kind of example. As you can see that it's an HTML tag. In the head they are writing the title of the page, which is company web page, and the head would close, and then there is a comment that this web page prompts for the password to log on to the database server, which is HAL 9000. So though this was just a comment, maybe they were testing it on the test servers and they didn't realize it before they posted it on the actual production servers, but this comment went with the code and now it's available on the website, through which the attacker can get the information that this is the database and this is the name of it. So this sort of information can be leaked out through the websites or the pages which are hosted by the organization themselves. Now we'll see a tool. For example, this website is a tool with security professionals, or you can say the hackers can use to gain the information about the past version of a website, for example, Wayback Machine. You can go to archive.org in order to reach the website. The web application, which was created by the Internet Archive, it takes the snapshots of the website at regular intervals and make them available to everyone who searches for the archive. Now they have lots of different websites and information related to them is archived on their databases. It is possible to recover information that was posted on the website sometimes in the past. However, the information may be hopelessly out of date and a limited time use also. So if you want to get some information about any specific website, you can search for it on their archive, and as they have searched, they are indicating all these different points where they created certain snapshots of it, and if you'll click on it, you'll be able to get the actual version or the looks of the website, or even the information which was posted on that website on that specific date. Now we have a complete lab session hands-on for this exercise. If you want, you can find it on our channel. We are explaining how this tool works and how you can gather some basic information about the websites which were hosted long time ago. Now, since we talked about that how they gather information about any specific organization or the targeted organization, the information on a company website is available through the social media, could be through the job postings that they have any positions opened or available in their infrastructure. For example, if there is a job and they are posting information like advanced knowledge of Microsoft Windows 10, Server 2016 and 19 and Office 365 SQL Server and IIS is required. So the attacker now have the information that they are using Windows 10 and they are using Windows Server 2016 and 19. So they look for the known vulnerabilities of these operating systems. In case if the systems are not patched, that would be a prime target for them to attack these kind of services. Now they can look for Microsoft Office 365 SQL Server, the version of SQL Server and IIS, what kind of IIS or version they are using. So that information is really valuable for any attacker. Now relevant experience knowledge, for example, if they are looking for Cisco Adaptive Security Appliance or Checkpoint, etc. Now you can get an information they are using some Cisco appliances in their organization. Firewall, for example, if they are writing that they must have experience in this kind of firewall, so they'll get the information about the firewalls also. VMware, if expertise are required on VMware or SAP, so that information can be gathered. Then they are talking about Active Directory and Azure, so they can find out that actually they are hosting Active Directory within the premises and they are using Azure for authentication, etc. also. Then experience with Trend Micro Enterprise Security Suite, for example, would tell them the kind of antivirus solution, enterprise antivirus solution which is being used in that organization. Now, since we talked about earlier about Google hacking, the search engine itself helps us in giving lots of information about any organization which have a presence online. What makes this possible is the way in which information is indexed by the search engine. So Google has its own crawlers which is gathering the information about the domains and the things which are hosted on the websites. Now, a specific command, for example, in title, means that in the title of the page instructs Google to search for the term within the title of a document. So if you'll search in Google with directly as it is in title and then index of and bash history, you'll get lots of information from different websites. Same goes for index of, etc. For example, on shadow in a folder, things related to Excel files, related to finance, HT passwords, mail logs, etc. So whenever you type a keyword in title, it directs Google to search for and return the pages that contain the words listed in the keyword as mentioned in the search results. Now, if you want to find a specific file type query, it allows them to search and look for particular term for only specific file type. For example, in URL, it could be htaccess password, shadow, ht user. So it's checking on the user accounts, their access and the user details. Then again, file type, if they are looking for a specific file type or MSN details or things related to MDB databases or the account user, admin, administrators and their passwords, any email, Excel sheets that they have. So the keyword file type instructs the Google to return the files that have for a specific extension. You can type in, for example, for the Word document as doc, for Excel's file for XLS, and so on if you have any specific things that could be searched. Now, as you can see over here in title, if they are typing in index of Microsoft IAS and 6.0, it means that it is looking for any servers which are running IAS, a web server version 6.0. So that's the result which typically comes up if they are searching. So you can find out that these are the specific URLs or the companies who are still hosting their data on IAS version 6, which is quite outdated. So that's how they collect the basic information through Google. Now in URL, for example, in the string, if they are typing in that in URL, if there is something written as admin and the file type is a database, return the results. So you'll get the results for that. In URL, if they'll type admin in URL and then they'll type for any kind of backup they are maintaining in index of user information, any kind of scripts they are using or CGI scripts, all that information can be displayed by Google itself. It is useful if attacker has some knowledge of the URL string or the standard of the URL string used by different type of applications and systems. So they must have some basic knowledge to understand the scripting language to decipher and get the exact details of what's going on. The keyword in URL commands Google to return pages that include specific words, characters in the URL. That if I want to have any kind of rule in the URL and I'll write in URL hy rule, it would reveal the pages that have the word hy rule mentioned in the address of it. Now we'll see exploring the domain information and the leakage, which usually is done by different websites like manual registrar query, automatic registrar query, who is Nslookup, internet assigned number authority, or determining a network range. If you look any of these services, we can see that whois can provide information about the registered users and their assigned agents, domain IP addresses, domain names, etc. Nslookup can find the information about the resources stored in DNS, including the domain names, DNS server, IP addresses, etc. Internet assigned number authority and regional internet registries. It can even help the attackers find the range of the internet protocol addresses, and the trace route can determine the location of the network. So that's how this information is available or made available to the public, but it has its own drawbacks through which they gather most of the information from their websites. Now, if we'll see Internet Corporation for Assigned Numbers, ICANN, the primary administrative organization charged with managing the Internet protocols and the address space allocation protocol parameters assigned to the domain name systems, etc. Now, Internet Assigned Numbers they are responsible for global coordination of DNS root, IP addresses, and IP resources. To manually determine the potential of the target, you can go to IANA website, and they have a complete database where they are posting all the information related to the domains. Now, that's a website for them. If you want, you can access it and get the information about different root zones and the databases which is available on their website. Now, as you can see, this is IANA website. If you'll look for domain names and you want to find some information related to that, you'll click on domain names, and then they are showing lots of other information about the domains, etc. We are interested in DNS Root Zones, and they have a complete database for root zones available over here. If we'll see in the next slide, that's the kind of information that you'll see, the IP addresses and the ranges of it. For example, if you'll search for smu.edu in the root zone, you'll be able to get this information, and if you want further things to be searched, you can go to edu cause, and that would display you the information. Now, this kind of information that a manual registrar query would hold, for example, the domain name, the registrant who has registered the domain, the administrative contact, his details, phone number, email addresses, etc., or the technical details, then the domain was activated actually, and when it was last updated, and the expiry date of the domain. So all that information is usually available over there. Now, manually registrar query organizations are essential for the security professionals. Information should be noted for the future use. For example, they are giving the details of the name servers and the email address of the contact person, which you can contact if you want to gather some more information related to that. Now, Nslookup helps us in getting lots of information about the domains, etc., like fully qualified domain name. You can use Nslookup. For example, if we are using Nslookup, it would give us following details about the IP address, etc. Now, just to show you as an example how to use Nslookup, I am on command prompt on my Windows. Now, you'll type Nslookup over here, and then you'll type in the address of the website for which you want to get some information, for example smu.edu, and it would give you some information about the IP address and the non-authoritative response from there. If, for example, we'll type in yahoo.com, we'll get information related to their IPv6 addresses and the IP addresses which are used by them. If we'll go to google.com, we'll get some information about Google and their IP addresses as well. So that's how we use Nslookup, and we'll get all the details about their IP addresses. Now, the next step in the footprinting process is to visit one or more of the regional internet registrars or the registries, which is responsible for management and distribution of the IP addresses. So if you are in America or American registry, it would be that's the authority, which is ARIN, which is taking care of the IP addresses of United States, Canada, Caribbean, and North Atlantic Islands. For Asia Pacific, you have APNIC and so on. It really depends in which region you are, and if you want to get some information about the IP addresses, etc., you can get that information from here. Now, automatic registrar queries, these are some different websites which you can access in order to gather the information about the domains. Now, to test, for example, I am on domain tools as it was there in the slides, and if I want to get the information about go.com, I'll type in and I'll press search. So in order to control that no robots are actually trying to gather the information, you'll have to verify the identity. Once that's done, press go, and it would give you the information about go.com. For example, the registrar who actually registered it is registered to Disney, and the information related to their registrar, their registration status, dates, etc., name, server details, technical contact details, the IP address of the service where it's hosted, its geographical location, and the domain address. And this is rest of the information about the domain, and if you want to complain it for any abuse, etc., the contact telephone numbers, billing address, and other domain information can be easily gathered by tools like these. And if you'll see in the next slide, that's what exactly they are talking about, that Whois would give you the details related to any domain, software that acquires or the queries the databases that hold the registration information, designed to interrogate the internet DNS servers and to return the domain ownership addresses, etc. Accessibility of tool depends on the operating system, etc. Now, it is really an option with the hosting company that you can pay certain amount in order to hide your identity, and some of the websites do deliberately hide their contact details just to be safe from these kind of attacks. Now, Internet Assigned Numbers Authority, which is IANA, is responsible for global coordination of DNS root, IP addresses, and IP resources. It's an excellent starting point to learn about the domain ownership, etc. You can go on their website and get the details about root zone database, and it lists top-level domains, for example, .com, .edu, .org, etc. And it shows the 2-character country codes as well. For example, as United Arab Emirates, it's .ae. For Qatar, it's .qa. For Saudi Arabia, it's .sa. And it really depends which country is it, and all that information is published over there. Now, in order to determine the IP range or the network range, one of the missions of the IANA is to delegate the internet resources, which is RIRs. The RIR is in turn delegate the resources as needed by the customers, which include the internet service provider details and other things, responsible to control the IPv4 and IPv6 addresses, and it maintains the point of contact details for any specific IP address, etc. As you can see that here it's talking about the range of the IP address, and it is the IP address of it /12. So that's telling exactly the range of IP addresses which are allocated over here. So they use the Nslookup utility to find the IP address of JB Learning, which is the actual publisher of the book, and it showed the IP address and the range of the IP address, which is between 16.0 to 31.255, and that's the assigned IP address for this specific domain. Now, we use another tool called traceroute, and this software tool helps us to determine the path of the data packets and the traverses to get the specific IP address. One of the easiest ways to identify the path of the target website. So if you are in an organization, you are using series of firewalls and switches, etc. Once you type the command in Windows operating system as tracert, just like we showed for Nslookup, you'll write tracert and then the name of the website. It would show you all the hops till the time it would exit your infrastructure, and then it would go to the internet and get all the other details of the routers it would pass through till the time it would reach the destination. It displays list of routers and the path of the network destination by using the time to live, which is the response time of it in milliseconds, and the Internet Control Protocol, which is ICMP messages. Now, the trace route is typically looks like this thing that they type in on the command prompt as the tracer Cisco. Now it gave the IP address of Cisco, and then it is looking for different hops, and then it's giving even the response time that it's receiving between these hops till it would reach the destination. Now further, if we'll see the tracking of the organization's employees, we can get some information that can be uncovered online, like if they are posting some photographs, video, and information about the events which are taking place in the organization, posted contents about the activities, personal activities, political activities, affiliations, etc., posting derogatory information about previous employers and co-workers, and then discriminatory comments or fabricated qualifications, etc., which they posted quite often on different websites. Now, these sites can be examined for names, email addresses, phone numbers, photographs, blogs, personal pages, social media pages, Facebook, Twitter, wherever they are posting anything related to their organization and the organizational social media through which they display lots of information about their upcoming events. So we must be very careful about the information that we are posting about us and about our organization. Social network profiles, Facebook, LinkedIn, etc. Beware of the potentially malicious URL. So make sure that you are not target of any kind of phishing attack or spear attacks. For example, clicking on a video that is linked to a malicious site that steals the victim's credentials or other information. The website could install malicious content or the software on the computer, and they can remotely monitor all your activities, your buying patterns, the websites that you are accessing, the credit card details, etc. Innocent looking items like trivia items, fantasy sports, etc. may distribute or publish user information, and the profile information is very valuable to the ethical and non-ethical hackers, whoever is trying to get some information about you. Now, using basic countermeasures means that the personal social media posts should be especially paid attention to what information you are posting and what information shall not go on the social media and publicly available platforms. Be especially vigilant about information leaks generated by well-intentioned persons who may post information in technical forums or discussion groups that may lead to lots of information disclosure. For example, if they are posting any problems, if they are having in running certain queries of databases, and they are posting information on the forums that if someone can help them out in figuring out the actual problem in the coding of the page or the queries, etc., that information can be collected against an organization. Beware of the persons who may be disgruntled or may release sensitive data or information that can be reviewed or viewed by accessed in public on publicly available platforms. Now, securing DNS means you must sanitize your DNS registration and contact information to be as generic as possible. Have two DNS servers, one internal and one external, in the demilitarized zone and in the militarized zone. Demilitarized zone means that the DNS server which is available at the public domain. For example, if you are using Microsoft Exchange servers, you cannot keep it in the militarized zone where no one has access to, since the people are coming from the external internet in order to check the emails, etc. So you'll have to keep it in the demilitarized zone so that at least people from outside can get some information about that. So since they are there in the demilitarized zone, make sure that you are securing your DNS server so that they are not being attacked and there is no DNS poisoning on those DNS servers. Now, external DNS should contain only the resource records of the DMZ host and not the internal host. So you'll keep it limited to the details of the servers which are available or the details of the server in the DMZ. Nothing should be there related to the internal host, which is a militarized zone. So that was about this chapter. We covered passive reconnaissance process, different techniques that attackers use to discover the information, how Google can help in finding certain information about the organizations and their websites, and then it can use social networks for information gathering, and some countermeasures, how can you fight against those kind of passive reconnaissance attacks. So that's it for today. Thank you very much.